What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Face Off Sports Network. I'm your host, Anthony Servino. Follow me on the X at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at the FF Face Off and at fffaceoff.com. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. Back with me on a Football Monday. We're going to talk some ADP movers, risers, and fallers. Pete Nova at Super Nova 38. Steve D'Angelo at Fantasy Savvy. Guys, what's going on?
What's going on, boys? Happy Monday to everyone out there. Yeah, we are getting there almost to the end of June. I'll be back in my home state next week, going to a wedding and join Pete and Anthony, fellow Jerseyans, back into Jersey. So I'll feel happy about that. I'll be like Robin Hood when he's coming on the beach, when he gets, out of that freaking Moors prison, that Islam prison, and he gets to the beach in England, and he's like fucking so happy. That's how I'm gonna feel when I get back in Jersey and eat all the good food, see all my friends and family. It's been about a year since I've been there, so looking forward to that. And I'll be watching videos and reading up and getting ready for these fantasy drafts and really getting into gear come August. But I won't. This will probably be my last show before I guess the end of July. So let's make it a good one.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see you guys next week. I'll be down in LBI for vacation all week next week. So I'll probably have my laptop with me. I don't know what we'll do for the live show. I know Hoff will be back. But yeah, I mean, rocking and rolling here. I'm excited to get some time off. And yeah, so yeah, ready to get to it here.
So we're going to do some ADP risers and fallers. Not a lot of news that has happened. This time of year is normally slow. Usually any news that happens is bad news. So I guess it's a good thing that we don't have anything going through the news wire. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with ADP movers. We're going to start with Darnell Mooney of the Atlanta Falcons. And Darnell Mooney is climbing up draft boards, and we're using FFPC Best Ball ADP for the month of June. His current ADP is 166.3. His old ADP is 191.1. So he's up 24.5 spots. This is Darnell Mooney, guys.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney's like, again, he had that 1,000-yard season with the Bears a couple years ago, then struggled with injuries. Then DJ Moore came to town and kind of just took over that number one spot, and Mooney was more of an afterthought. And like every time you watch Fields and Mooney out there, like Mooney would be open deep a lot of the times. Sometimes it would just miss. Like there were so many explosive plays that were just left off the field, and the injuries kind of hurt him down the stretch. But he did have that 1,000-yard season with Fields, and I think Mooney is a pretty good, he's a deep threat. I think he's a pretty good route runner. So I think he's going to fit pretty well in Atlanta. So I understand the ADP really moving up on him. I don't mind getting some Mooney. It's pretty exciting. Him playing in a dome now gets out of that, those bad weather games in Chicago, more, better weather games down there in the NFC South now. So I think it's a little intriguing, especially for best ball purposes, to go in on Mooney. I think he's talented enough where, is he going to get back to 1,000 yards? That maybe that's a little too high, but maybe he gets 800, 900 yards, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns. I could see a world where Darnell Mooney kind of returns to fantasy prominence a little bit.
Pete? You're muted, Pete. You are muted. Muted, Pete.
I hear you, dude. I don't know what the heck's going on over here. My headset cut off.
He's got a case of the Mondays, I think.
Yeah, it's rough.
Oh, wrong one.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, so Mooney, we're talking here, right? So he's up 24.5 spots. I'll be the first to say that I've never really been a huge fan of Darnell Mooney. He's probably the fourth receiving option on this team outside of London, Pitts, and even Bijan. Bijan has I wouldn't say he's going to have more catches than Mooney, but if it finished the season off, if he did, it really wouldn't surprise me. But I think he's a nice get, because at the end of the day, we don't really know who Kirk Cousins is going to fall in love with. I think that's one thing to say. I mean, Darnell Mooney, for better or for worse, I never really liked him because of the situation in Chicago, but he's talented, and yes, Drake London is a superior athlete, but there's nothing to suggest or say that Kirk Cousins is going to like Drake London more than Mooney, and Mooney is solidified as the number 2 wide receiver. So I think he's worth the dart throw. I have Kirk Cousins. I took a shot today and said that I thought he might have the most passing yards in the NFL. So somebody's got to catch the ball outside of London and Pitts and Bijan. So yeah, I think Mooney's a solid dart throw at his current ADP, which is pretty much between round 13 and 15 in best ball. So
Yeah, I am a little bit higher on Darnell Mooney than most. And Steve, you remember this years ago. I think you and Matt were both on Mooney, and I didn't really understand it. And it was all the situation, it was all the quarterback. Now, just like how I feel about Pitts and Drake London, everything's changed when you bring in Zach Robinson and Kirk Cousins. Mooney has 95th percentile speed. Can certainly open up, take the top off of a defense. We know that he has that one season where he did get volume, buck 40 targets in 2021, and even 98 in his rookie year in 2020. In that 2021 season, over 1,000 yards receiving with 4 touchdowns on a bad Bears offense. Now he goes to Atlanta, where he's going to probably be the number 2 wide receiver opposite Drake London. So he's really never going to see any type of double coverage. No enemy defense going to try to take him out. He's going to be open a lot. And now you have one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL in Kirk Cousins. And here's what's noteworthy. And I'm pulling up the stats now. Kirk Cousins, career wide receiver 2s. Jordan Addison last in 2023, 70 for 9, 11, and 10. Granted, Cousins wasn't there all season. Adam Thielen in 2022, 70 for 717 and 6. Thielen in 2021, 67, 726 and 10. Thielen in 2020, 74, 925 and 14. And then Diggs in 2018, when he was a 2 there, 102 for 1,021 and 9. So Kirk Cousins can support wide receiver 2s, especially when there's an alpha in this wide receiver room. I'm not saying that Darnell Mooney is going to give us, Thielen seasons when he was opposite Justin Jefferson, but can he give us a Jordan Addison like year of last year for 70, 9, 11? I don't think he's going to get 10, but like maybe 6 touchdowns. That stat line probably puts him well above his price right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess Cousins does support wide receiver 2s. Adam Thielen was solid. KJ Osborne even had 650 yards next to Adam Thielen in 2022. And this was when Cousins had 4,500 yards, and I'm pretty sure his prop is 4,300 right now on Find or DraftKings. So they expect him to get to that number. Tight end wise, I don't really know what their tight end in 2022 had. I'd have to dig a little bit deeper, but I definitely think it's possible that he's a player and somebody worth rostering. Like I said, especially at his cost. I'm intrigued to get some exposure in best ball. I don't know how much I'd be drafting Mooney in redraft, but that's just me.
Yeah, and they paid him too. I mean, they gave him $13 million a year, so it's not like they're just throwing him out there and like he's just a random guy. They expect him to produce. So, yeah, I think it's 14th round with Kirk. I think it works.
Before
go
on. I was going to say before we move on to the question, I do want to pull this up real quick. I'm going to throw it on the screen because this was a good tweet that our face-off account on Twitter put up there. And I kind of want to throw this out there. Patrick Mahomes is the highest passing prop. Who do we have? And I quote tweeted Kirk Cousins. Why can't Kirk Cousins lead the NFL in passing? I think he should have been included on this graphic over Herbert and probably over CJ Stroud.
Definitely over Herbert. I'm curious, and I could be completely wrong. Is this in order of each year prior to this one for who's finished with the most yards? I don't know. Did Stroud have the most yards last
No,
year?
I don't know if this is. I
It's
think these are just quarterbacks who
Tua
could do it.
Tua had 4,600
Two.
last.
Okay. So I just wanted to see the correlation because yeah, I don't know why Herbert's on there. I mean, it is Pro Football Focus. We understand big accounts, right? Want engagement. Maybe that's why Herbert's on there to get people to question. I don't really understand why Kirk Cousins isn't on there because he's one of the higher props. Herbert makes no sense. My money's on Dak or Kirk Cousins, to be honest.
Okay.
And then my third guy would probably be Mahomes. Those three are probably my favorites if I'm putting money down.
Yeah, I mean, if Goff was second last year, why can't Cousins do it in this situation? So yeah, I mean, right now, what Mahomes is the favorite? Looks like followed
Mahomes is tied. I think
with
he's tied
Stroud.
with Dak. I think as well.
Yeah, it's Mahomes, Stroud, Dak, Tua, kind of around there. But Mahomes is +5. Well, it opened at +500. It depends where you're betting, but +650. Stroud's like +600, +800, and Dak's pretty close there too. Cousins right now is best odds you can get is +1600 on FanDuel.
Let's go to that question. What was it? This one from here for the memes?
Yeah.
So pick a side, can provide context. 2025 first. He is a 2024 champ. So this is going to be obviously the last first in the first round. Plus Christian Watson for any of Higgins, Ayuk, or Devonta Smith.
So this is 2025 first. So that's next year. So we don't know what his first will be this year. But we're assuming it should be in the back. Well, and he added context here. He said his full PPR start 3 single quarterback starters are St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, and Garrett Wilson. He wants a 4th receiver. One of you guys can take this first.
Here, Steve, I'll start here. I would make that deal. I'm going to pull it back up so I can see the questions. I would make that deal probably for Brandon Ayuk. Christian Watson, I don't even know if he's the number 1 on his old team right now. And again, this 2025 first, unless you completely implode, you should that should be a low first, right? That should, you should be a playoff team. So that 2025 first has very low value to me. And Brandon Ayuk, there's news today that he's meeting with the 49ers. He's not happy. I don't know if this guy's going to be on the 49ers in 2025. And I'm being realistic, and I know Hoff don't want to hear it. He's just not happy.
Yeah.
And this is a team chasing a ring. They might want to just, like Debo's good for that locker room. He's the heartbeat that, you know what, Debo, we got to deal with some injuries, but we deal with less bullshit. With Brandon Ayuk, he could go to a team and be the alpha and see 140 targets. So if I'm making a move, forget about Higgins. I think Higgins is fool's gold. Devonta's number 2 on his own team. I'm rolling a dice on Brandon Ayuk because I think even if it's in San Francisco, I think they move off of Debo. If he goes elsewhere, he'll be the alpha there. So I'm making this move for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, it's definitely an upgrade because Watson and his injuries, but you're also giving up a first. So can you get back a second, maybe? Can you get back something, maybe? That's what I would probably ask for, something, maybe a second or maybe even a third or like an early third or maybe another player that you like. Because, I mean, Watson, he could be the QB or the wide receiver 1 there. If he stays healthy for the entire year, which is obviously his biggest issue. But every time he gets rolling, 3, 4, 5 games in a row, he just produces, and he's in a great passing offense. So I think he could be better than some of these guys. He has a chance, outside chance. But, yeah, I would probably see if he can get a second or a third or something else on the way back. You get more security with Ayuk or Devonta. And Higgins, I mean, if Higgins plays a full season with Burrow, that could be pretty dangerous too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it all depends on your league. The guy, you got another guy you're trading with. If you know these guys well, and you know that there's a chance if you ask for more, it stalls trade talks. I wouldn't be greedy, and I would maybe just go ahead and pull the trigger on Ayuk and Smith. Higgins, I'm more hesitant. I'd want something back with Higgins, but it really depends on this is.
I don't think he's
I,
being greedy though. I think it's I
I
think he's
mean,
given up a little too much personally. I think maybe just a little bit too much.
I think I think if we're operating on the assumption that Watson stays fully healthy this year, then yeah, I definitely think there's a possibility. But at the same
He's still giving
time,
up a first next year, which is going to be a really good player.
yeah, it's a late first. I don't know. Like I said, I would pull the trigger on Ayuk or Smith. I think, in my opinion, I think Ayuk and Smith, if you were trading one of them in this year's draft, you could probably get 106 to 108 for them. I mean, I traded Ayuk. I traded for Ayuk. I gave up Olave in a first next year for Ayuk in the 106. But I just think I'm a big believer in Ayuk. I think Devonta Smith could be playing the Keenan Allen role in Kellen Moore's offense this year, and CeeDee Lamb's role in the Kellen Moore offense. And if that's true, Smith could explode this year. So I like both of them. They've both been consistently healthy on the field. Higgins, like I said, I'm more hesitant. I would
Yeah.
try to get at least a third
Yep.
back or something.
Any other questions before we move to our next mover?
We have one more from Zach here.
And what about Lewis?
Two
What
more,
about
two more.
Lewis?
Yeah, two more. Lewis has been coming in a lot on
I want
Facebook.
to take care
so
of
we
my
appreciate
Facebook
that.
people.
Well, I have it pulled up here. He said, "How do you feel about Diontae Johnson, low end wide receiver 2?" Yeah, I think Diontae Johnson's, if he's your second receiver, I would be a little upset about that. I'd prefer a little better, but I think he's going to be a weekly flex play, a guy in PPR. If you standard, I'm not as high on him, but in PPR, I'd be pretty happy if he was like my third receiver or a flex play in fantasy this year. I think low end wide receiver is probably about where he goes. Wide receiver 2. Sorry,
Steve?
I mean, if Grandpa Thielen can catch 1,000 yards last year and get 137 targets, and then you bring in Diontae Johnson, who historically has been a target hog, and he's a good route runner. He separates. He's just good in those little routes. I mean, he just gets open. So I think he's going to be. He might be Bryce Young's early favorite target. I mean, yeah, they got Leggett. I do like Leggett a lot, but he's still a rookie. Deontay's a veteran there, so. Yeah, I think as a wide receiver too, it's pretty solid. I think Diontae Johnson, and I like Bryce Young. I think he'll get better this year. He'll take some more strides in his second year in the NFL. Hopefully a better offensive line. Last year was a disaster. The weapons were not very good. So they kind of revamped that whole offense. New coach and Dave Canales, who's done wonders for Geno and Mayfield, as we know. So yeah, I think it works. I like Diontae as my number 2. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. What we know about Diontae Johnson, he brings a really high floor. And if you look at what he's done in Pittsburgh, you go to Carolina now, Bryce Young, who I'm not exactly high on, like we at least know, hey, he's not going to be any worse in Carolina than he was in Pittsburgh, right? Like Bryce Young has to be really like atrociously bad for Diontae Johnson to be any worse. So you at least know you have that Pittsburgh floor, and let's hope to God for the fandom of the Carolina Panthers that Bryce Young takes any type of a step forward. Then I think Diontae Johnson is going to be a solid fantasy player this year. I mean, this is a guy who we look at a 3-year stretch from 2020 to 2022. He's had at least 144 targets. There is not a soul on that Carolina Panthers roster that should command any type of targets. Not old man Thielen. Mingo, I don't even know if he's going to be in the league next year. Leggett, who knows what happens with that. So realistically, he should be that entire passing attack. So I don't hate it. And ADP-wise, right around 73, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I like it. I've never really been a Diontae guy, but
Right.
I just think, like I said, Thielen had 1,000 yards, and
Right.
they're kind of similar. They're both really crafty route runners, and I think he's and Bryce Young. The one thing he does have is he's pretty accurate. So, I like it. Where the hell did Pete go?
All right. He's here. He's back.
Oh, okay. Nice.
We're back.
You all right, bro? What happened? What's going on?
Shit.
Maybe he needs his glass.
All right.
Maybe he needs his glasses on.
Maybe. I don't know. The haircut looks good. You know, he's looking fresh. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I know there was another question he had.
Ray
up there.
Davis or Austin Eckler? You want to bring that one up?
Yeah, Jeremy Clark. So Ray Davis or Austin? Is this dynasty or redraft?
I don't know. But you hate Austin Eckler and you like Ray Davis a lot, so it seems like you'd rather wait and take Ray Davis, right?
We don't know. Jeremy's not telling us. I'm going Ray Davis.
Pete's been scouted.
I'm going Ray Davis.
Dynasty, he said.
Oh, dynasty. I'm still going Ray Davis. By far, Ray Davis. Austin Eckler is I don't want anything to do with Austin Eckler. I like Brian Robinson. This is a Cliff Kingsbury offense. What do you know about Cliff Kingsbury offenses? They want to throw the football. I don't know what's left in terms of like what Austin Eckler did well in his career is catch passes. Is he going to be on the field enough to bring that type of value? Whereas Ray Davis, I think there's a realistic chance if he's good, he significantly cuts into James Cook's workload. I know that's an unpopular opinion. This is now year after year. We've seen the Buffalo Bills. They try to bring in a short yardage back. Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, Leonard Fournette they're desperately looking for a short yardage back to take some pressure off of Josh Allen on short yardage and goal line. And I don't think that they believe James Cook can do it. So yeah, I'm going Ray Davis here.
Yeah, dynasty. I like it. My dynasty draft just completed yesterday. We got started really late because my cousin was going through some things and stuff. But yeah, I like Ray Davis. I think he's a good runner. He's a smart runner. He compares himself to Austin Eckler and Jalen Warren type. And yeah, Eckler's on his way out, of the league pretty much. I mean, maybe a couple more decent years, but Ray Davis could definitely be a thing in Buffalo for sure going into the future. So yeah, I like Ray Davis in dynasty for sure.
And right now, folks, I know it's not dynasty. Austin Eckler, his ADP has fallen almost 12 spots this month in FFPC Best Ball.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean,
so his ass is free falling because he's washed.
You think about they took Dawson Knox, and he struggled with drops, and then they bring in Kincaid. And what did James Cook kind of struggle with last year? Drops as well. And Ray Davis he's a pretty good receiver out of the backfield. So he may, you never know. He could kind of usurp that role maybe a little bit.
Tyreek, same team for Mr. Memes here. Tyreek in a 2025 first or CD Lamb. Ooh.
Pete?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I sorry about that. I had some issues. But yeah, I would look, depends how high the 2025 first is going to be and how confident you feel in the wide receivers coming out of the draft next year. Because I mean, it feels like gravy. If Hill plays another 2 years and is dominant, you're basically getting a free first, and there's not going to be much of a drop off from Hill to Lamb. But if you're a rebuilding team, a team that's maybe not necessarily a contender, I probably prefer Lamb just because he's younger and he's a cornerstone piece in a rebuild. So I would need to know the context of I mean, well, I guess we already kind of do know since he was contending last year. I hate saying it, but I would take Hill in the first just because you're getting a first thrown on top. And if you're truly competing, and I think Hill has still got at least another 2 years at an elite level. So I'm probably taking the first with Hill. It's tough though.
Steve,
I like Tyreek Hill with the first as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll go CD Lamb.
I don't see like these type of trades are crazy to me. Like this is, I don't know. That's a crazy ass trade. But go ahead.
He's
It is a crazy
Lamb
trade.
is 25 years old. There's nobody else in Dallas, right? Like you got Cooks, but like there's no Waddle, right? There's no A-Chan. It's literally CD Lamb. And oh, by the way, he's playing for a contract. And I love Tyreek Hill. He won me some money. The issue with Tyreek Hill, and this is what scares the hell out of me and this Miami offense, down the stretch, and it started in that Tennessee game when Tyreek got – remember, there was a lot of games where it looked like Tyreek was going to leave because of injury. He would come back. That Tennessee game, Tyreek was not right. And he was not right for the rest of the year. And that offense without Tyreek is different. We also have to worry about Tua and that injury cluster if that happens. And Tyreek Hill, by the way, down the stretch after having a sensational year from week 14 on, 10 PPR points, 18.9, 13.6, and then week 18, where I don't know how many people are doing a fantasy championship week 18. He had his best game in that stretch with 21 points. So like it scares me a little bit. Give me the guy in CD Lamb, who 25, injury-free, and extreme. That Dallas offense is CD Lamb dependent.
Yeah, I guess the only worry I have is if there is the actual possibility of Dak leaving. There is a chance. We know Hill's been able to do it in this offense. Tua is not really probably going anywhere else. But yeah, I think he probably swayed me a little bit. It was tough. I think I'd probably change my answer and say I probably would go Lamb. Like you said, he's 25. He's playing on for a contract this year, and I mean, you might even be able to argue that he's even the better player at this point in his career. That's nothing against Tyreek Hill, but I don't know how long Tyreek Hill's play can translate at an older age too. The twitchiness, how much twitchy and burst can you have before you start getting hamstring injuries and those kinds of things as well.
It's
you cut off one of Tyreek's legs, it'll probably still fucking burn some people out there.
but I do want the counterpoint to what you're saying, and it goes against my CD Lamb take, is that Tyreek Hill can lose a little bit of speed, and Mike McDaniel will scheme him open.
Yeah.
But still, like you're saying, what if Dak leaves? What if Tua takes a bad hit? We're looking at, the same situation with quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, is a bad hit going to mean Tua's career's done? And you could say that about any.
It could be.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't know. I think at the end of the day, I think you're right in that. I wouldn't overcomplicate it. Like if you're getting CD Lamb, you're tearing up in my opinion. Yeah. He's better than Hill projected for just this season alone. You're getting the youth. You're insulated in terms of just getting. He's probably getting an extension, and on top of the fact that he's 25, like you're gonna, for a fact, unless CD Lamb blows his Achilles out, which knock on wood that happens, you're getting 4 or 5 elite seasons left out of CD Lamb. We just don't know with Hill. He's talked about the retirement. We've heard that. Like, we don't know how accurate it is. And to Anthony's point, like, he was banged up a little last year. Like, can he continue to stay healthy? I'd probably lean the Lamb side.
And Hill has also talked about leaving, maybe retiring at some point soon. So you never know with him.
Yeah. You touched the Ray Davis Eckler. I know I came back a little late.
There's a lot of questions we're getting in the chat right now. I don't know
did you get to Zach Linton's here? Did you get to Zach's? He said, "Don't skip me." Evans for Stevenson in a 12-team Superflex dynasty. So he's saying Mike Evans for Ramondre Stevenson in a 12-team Superflex dynasty. I need to know the context. I mean, Evans, if you're making a push and you need the receiver help, I'd go Evans. But I think Ramondre Stevenson's due for a bounce back, and he did just sign an extension. So I think he'll be the guy there for at least another 2-3 years. The Mike Evans thing, it's dynasty. If you're making a push, I'd probably lean Evans. If you really need that addition at wide receiver, but I would probably prefer Stevenson in this.
All right.
Yeah.
I would probably go with Evans, especially if I'm trying to win a championship.
Yeah, if you're, I guess I guess Evans. I do have my worries about Evans with the offensive coordinator change and everything else like that. And he was very big play and touchdown dependent last year. So I that scares me a little bit. But I guess I still would lean Evans if you are a contender.
Yeah.
That's what that was kind of my feelings too. Like I wouldn't be like super excited to trade Stevenson for Evans, but if you're desperate and you need a receiver and you're competing, I'd make the move. But to Anthony's point, there's a little worry about what that offense looks like. They just brought in a new rookie wide receiver in Jaquan McMillan as well. In McMillan. I think I pronounced the first name right.
Jade,
but
I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Will is in here. He said rookie wide receivers this year over mid-tier. I guess the question is, do you prefer taking a swing on guys like Ladd or Keon Coleman? I'm not going to include Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. just because I wouldn't say they're mid-tier, but those two guys in Ladd and Keon are probably going around some of those mid-tier receivers. I don't know what I'm comparing it to. So it's kind of hard to say if I prefer them over other guys, but I don't know. Why don't you guys just tell them? Because we do have a Keon Coleman question in here. So why don't we tie in how you guys feel about Keon Coleman and your thoughts on Ladd over some other guys that are going around them?
In redraft, I have Ladd ranked as my number 2 receiver. Doesn't mean I'm drafting him as high as Neighbors. It just means I think he'll finish higher. And instead of drafting Neighbors, I will draft Ladd McConkey. Second round draft capital, and he projects as a possession receiver, could play multiple, in a slot or on the outside. The big thing here is everybody worries about the Greg Roman system, and I would pump the brakes on worrying about it because, number one, that Greg Roman system in Baltimore and even in San Francisco, very good defenses. This defense is not going to be good. They're going to have to throw the football with Justin Herbert, who's one of the better quarterback talents in the NFL. And Ladd McConkey should earn those targets. And, Mark Andrews, because there is somebody in a Greg Roman system who earns targets. He saw a 29% target share and I'm going off the final 2 years he was there with Greg Roman. So 2022, he had a 29% target share. And then in 2020, or the year before that, 26.6. So there is always a guy who stands out in a Greg Roman system, and I believe it's going to be Ladd McConkey. Keon Coleman, if I'm drafting Keon Coleman, it's because of Josh Allen and hoping he's the top guy. Right now, I have Kincaid and Shakir projected as the top 2 target earners in that offense. I just can't get behind Keon Coleman. I'd rather get Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Ladd McConkey. Plus, Herbert's a better passer than Lamar Jackson ever was. So, and you got Harbaugh in there, So, yeah, I like Ladd McConkey. I like that connection. Keon Coleman, I don't know. I mean, he's good contested catch guy. He doesn't really separate that much. I mean, I didn't think that was the best pick for Buffalo. I think they should have probably traded up and try to get like Brian Thomas Jr., who could, take the top off a defense, something like that. Or even like Xavier Legette or Adonai Mitchell, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So some people like Keon Coleman a lot. Some people compare him to George Pickens. I watched basically all his Florida State tape. Some people say you got to go back and watch his Michigan State tape. When he was at Michigan State, they used him in a different way. I didn't get to that yet. So I do, I am very intrigued by Keon Coleman. I think he could be a nice red zone threat for Allen, but I don't know if he's going to be like a guy that's going to be getting open. Maybe his zone defense kind of like Gabe kind of did, but against man, he struggles a little bit more. But he could be a guy where, Allen throws it up to him and he comes down with it more than Gabe did. Gabe had a lot of drops as well, but I do prefer Shakir later on. And, I like getting Kincaid. I do agree. It's going to be those two guys. I'm kind of like 50-50 on Keon, but I just thought there was better receivers they could have went after in the draft.
So
but as far as I like getting Ladd, I like getting Brian Thomas. and even Leggett, and a little bit of sprinkling on Adonai Mitchell as well, and Roman Wilson a little later.
Let's try to rapid fire through some of these questions so we get back to the actual talking points of the show. So we have a question here. Would we keep Breece Hall in the 5th, CD in a 2nd, or Laporta in the 14th? He also has a 6th pick out of 10. The biggest value is Laporta. But there's a lot of nice tight ends you can get. The keep here for me is Breece Hall. Breece Hall is going as a 1st-round pick, and you're getting him at a 5th-round draft value, where CD Lamb is a 1st-round pick, and you're getting him at a 2nd. I think pound for pound, Breece Hall's the play here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm keeping Breece. Elite running back, could be the RB1, could win you a championship.
And go back to our video archives. I just did a video on why Breece Hall could be a fantasy football league winner.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
I'd go with Breece as well. I have no objections over that. Yeah. Will came in here and said Cooper Kupp over DJ Moore. Yes.
No. What?
I'm sorry. I meant to say DJ over Kupp. Sorry. I meant to say DJ over Kupp. Yeah, I would take DJ over Kupp. I mean, DJ Moore has been a target monster his whole career. I don't know with Kupp. Again, I need to see the hamstring. But even if fully healthy, and Kupp is on the field the whole year, I'm still going to go with DJ Moore. I know there's some other guys around him and there's more competition. But I do think Puka is going to be the number 1 wide receiver on that team. And I think DJ has a chance to be his wide receiver 1 on his team. So I prefer DJ Moore here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure Anthony, it sounds like, prefers DJ as well.
Yeah, I do prefer DJ Moore. Even if he's not catching as many downfield stuff or Khalif struggles a little bit, he's still going to catch a ton of screens and short passes. He's really good after the catch. So I prefer DJ.
Cool. All right. So we answered your question, Lewis. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us directly. We can help you out there. We already went over the Breece Hall question. Will came in here again and said Diggs over Tank Dell. Pretty sure Underdog has Tank Dell with a higher ADP. I mean, unless I'm missing something, I don't. I'm pretty sure Diggs is still going round 2, round 3. Yeah, Tank Dell is wide receiver 26 off the board. Stephon Diggs is wide receiver 22. So honestly, Tank Dell is creeping up there to Diggs, and Diggs is falling. Diggs is down 8.7 spots from the beginning of at least April. So he's falling, and Tank Dell is moving up a little bit. If I'm taking a shot on either of these guys, I prefer neither, but if I was going to take a shot on one, it's Dell, just because he's cheaper and has that rapport and relationship with Stroud already, in my opinion. But Nico's the guy to own in this room for me.
Yeah, I agree there.
Okay. And then let's see. Jamie's in here as well. Jamie says, what are your thoughts on Calvin Austin being wide receiver 2 on the Steelers, or is your best all flyer to deep leagues? Yeah, I mean, this is actually funny. I was talking to Calvin Austin, to a buddy of mine that has him in Dynasty. He could emerge as the receiver 2 there. I don't think he's going to be a guy that you can start every week, though, and be comfortable in redraft. I would prefer Roman Wilson, just because it's more of an unknown, and Calvin Austin's been on the team and has had a chance to solidify himself and hasn't. But I do think he's 4.3 speed. He'll have a chance to have some big catches, big touchdowns. So for best ball, you're going to get him pretty much for free at the end of the draft. So he's worth a stab at the end if you want to try to get wide receiver 2 in this offense. But I prefer Roman Wilson over
Roman Wilson here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Wilson's going to be pretty solid in this league.
Cool. STLS Hawk says, thanks for answering the sub. We appreciate that, man. Hawk, I thought the same thing when it popped up. Here for the meme said, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Yeah, no problem. And then one more from Jamie, and then we'll get into the rest of the segments on the show here. It says Quentin Johnson over DJ, LOL, possible first opportunity to fail. I'm at best ball. I don't know if it's Quentin Johnson over DJ Moore. Is that what you guys are getting from this? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be taking Quentin Johnson over DJ.
No.
If that's the question, I don't know. Jamie, feel free to follow back up.
Yeah, I don't know. Jamie's just fucking around. He's just joking.
Yeah, he could just be fucking around. All right, Anthony, why don't you bring us to the next segment here?
So I lost my. I love all the questions coming. So that's awesome, guys. Keep
Yeah.
it coming. Sub, like, all that fun stuff. So we're gonna move on to Terry McLaurin, and Terry McLaurin, his price point right now is 70.9. His old day ADP is 78.6. So he's up 7.7 spots. Who's going to take it first?
Steve, you seem to like Terry, so why don't you go first?
Yeah, I do like Terry. I've always liked his talent, and I think he's just struggled with bad quarterback play. You know, Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett. I'm probably missing a name in there somewhere. But yeah,
Maybe
I
Alex Smith.
it's possible. Maybe back in 2019. Yeah, this is going to be his 6th year in the NFL, and he's had 1,000 yards 4 seasons in a row, despite that poor quarterback play. His touchdowns just never really have got up. I mean, 4, 5, 5, 4. So now you're bringing Jaden Daniels, quite possibly, should be the best quarterback he's had. Carson Wentz was horrendous. Sam Howell, Scam Howell, as Anthony likes to call him. So 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. About 70, basically like almost 80 catches a year. That's what he's pretty much averaging, about 120, 130 targets. So just got to get those touchdowns up. Why not? Why not with Jaden Daniels? Why can't this offense improve? Why can't he get to maybe 7, 8, 9 touchdowns? Maybe get to 2022 numbers, maybe like 1,200, 1,300 yards. So, yeah, I think this is the year. I've kind of been out on Scary Terry the past couple of years, but I'm going to go after him this year a little bit here. I think I'm in on Terry McLaurin this year for sure, so I see why he's moving up the boards a little bit. I like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I make the comp here. I feel like Terry McLaurin's situation's a little bit similar to DJ Moore.
Right.
In
I was going
that,
to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, like just really bad quarterback play, but target monster. I mean 134, 131, 120, 130 are his last 4 years when it comes to total targets. He hasn't had a season outside of those 4 years with under 77 catches. Like, it's just really about getting into the end zone, and it is really hard to predict guys going to the end zone. But DJ Moore, right before he came over, he had 135 targets, 118, 162, 118. So like, if you take the average of what DJ Moore had on a yearly basis, Terry actually has averaged more catches per season than DJ Moore over that 4-year stretch before joining the Bears. So if you my take on it is, if you believe in Jaden Daniels and you think this offense will be better, Terry McLaurin should absolutely finish higher this year than he has in years past, and I love stacking him. He's at a value where Jaden Daniels is also at a value. I've been getting pieces of Daniels in Best Ball with the rushing upside as a QB2, and I absolutely love stacking Terry and Daniels, and I think Terry's due. This is the year. I mean, we've been waiting for it with him, and he's kind of like similar to Courtland Sutton in a way too, where it's just like talented guy that's just been held back by just
and he's been going third, 4th round past couple years, like 4th round. So now you get him in the 6th round.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I like what you guys are saying, and this is a big reason why I get down on like this year's neighbors, or in the past McLaurin and DJ Moore. But then last year, DJ Moore goes to a better situation, a quarterback upgrade. We are seeing this with Drake London getting the quarterback upgrade, and that means a lot. And Terry McLaurin is finally, we believe, is getting a quarterback upgrade. And because of year after year of struggling and not producing in fantasy football, his ADP is the lowest we have ever seen it. Now, it'll fluctuate. It could trend up a little bit. If Jaden Daniels looks good and people get the film on him in practice and see Terry McLaurin, catching some balls. But right now, I don't mind taking McLaurin. We have to realize this is a guy, if we look at his fantasy finishes and fantasy points per game, his best career finish was wide receiver 20 in 2020, wide receiver 22 in 2022. Last year falls back a little bit as a wide receiver 34 in fantasy points per game. I don't mind drafting McLaurin because I do believe he'll finish better than he had last year. I think he's going to be a top 24 receiver in fantasy points per game. He certainly is the alpha on this offense. And again, the Cliff Kingsbury system, they want to push the ball downfield. And I think Terry McLaurin has the skill set to make some plays. He was 8th last year in deep targets. If Jaden Daniels is an upgrade over the quarterbacks they had last year, and Cliff Kingsbury keeps, if he decides, hey, McLaurin's our alpha, we're gonna give him those deep targets like he had in years past, and Jaden Daniels can connect, then I think special things can happen. This is another situation. Catchable target rate. McLaurin was 76 in that category. So what does that mean? 85 of his 130 targets. So he was targeted 130 times and only 85 were catchable. That number goes up. So does Terry McLaurin's fantasy production. So yeah, I'm in on him.
He's been healthy too. 3 straight years of 17 games, and he's battled high ankle sprains throughout his career.
Yeah. The last thing I'd say on it, and then we're more than happy to move on. I'd be willing to take him over Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, who are guys. These are just some guys going ahead of him. Tank Dell, Zay Flowers at their ADPs, who are going ahead of Terry. Christian Kirk, I could be swayed either way on them. And then I prefer George Pickens and Amari Cooper. But I would definitely take him over T. Higgins and Zay Flowers.
What about Neighbors?
Personally, I don't like the cost on Neighbors, so I'd prefer the discount. I mean, Neighbors is wide receiver 18, Terry's wide receiver 31. You're getting about almost a 2-round discount on Terry, and I prefer that. It's a guy that we've seen do it, and I think Anthony brings up a great point. Like when you look at Neighbors, like does Neighbors fall into that Terry territory?
Yeah,
I know that wasn't on purpose, but does he fall into that territory where it's just, the Chris Olave territory, right? Where if Chris Olave doesn't finish as a wide receiver 1 this year, like what do we do with this guy? He's stuck with Derek Carr. Like the quality of targets just aren't great. So I would definitely take Terry over Neighbors right now at his cost.
So we're going to move on to Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller. Now, these are running backs going in polar opposite directions, where Kamara is down 8.5 spots. So he went from 39 to 48 ADP. Kendre Miller up 8.8 spots. He went from 137.9 to 129.9. Steve, what do you think about this situation and how we're handling this Saints backfield?
Yeah, I mean, Kamara's he's definitely not the total player he used to be. Just 3.9 yards per carry last year, but still caught 75 balls. It was like the first couple of games he came back. Didn't he catch like 17 balls, 15 balls? Derek Carr was just like, here, Kamara, just take over. Give me the ball. Kamara must have been just whispering in his ear the whole time he was getting ready. So, Kendre Miller, I've said it time and time again, it was just a disaster rookie season for him. He just could not stay healthy. Coming out of TCU, went all the way back towards the national championship game and kind of rolled into the season. So, what are they going to do with a new offensive coordinator? Pete Carmichael is finally gone after 15 years being the OC there. So is it just going to be Kamara City, or is it going to be more of like Kendre Miller, a little bit more burst in the run game? Try to get that yards per carry up, because Kamara has kind of been I guess since 2020 he's really dropped off. 2021 3.7, 2022 4.0. But still he's going to be a thorn in Kendre Miller's side, but I still like going after Kendre. He could be like a Frank Gore type situation where he just kind of sits there for like another year or two before the young guy finally gets his full look. But I like going after Kendre Miller. I still believe in his talent, even though it was a disastrous rookie season. I liked him a lot coming out of TCU. He's a burner. He could break big runs. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year. And I'm not really going after Kamara too much. I'm going more Kendre Miller.
Yeah. Kamara is the same thing I talk about with Rashad White, where NFL coaches don't care about fantasy football, right? Like Kamara might have been good for fantasy football last year, but he was not good for the Saints last year. There's a reason that they're not going to give him an extension. Granted, his age is up there, but I just, he was inefficient. I don't even need to pull the numbers up because we've talked about it multiple times on the show, and I'm sure Anthony might do it. But I just, he was inefficient. He wasn't a good running back, and there's not really much else to say about Kamara. I think even running back 48, ADP of 48 is grossly high. I would think Kamara should be slotted somewhere down next to the Javonte Williams of the world, at that 90 to 100. I'm not in on his price at all. And he's dealt with injuries too. So given the injuries, the age, the contract situation, and just the inefficiency, I prefer Miller. If I'm going to take a shot on this group here, give me Miller at a much high discount here.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on Kendre Miller and Alvin Kamara. Yeah, you guys said it. He was never the greatest rusher, but since 2021, he's managed under 4 yards per carry. And fantasy-wise last year, RB11 and RB3 in fantasy points per game, the RB11 overall. It was all PPR. Now, if we go back to Alvin Kamara, let's tell the whole story. His rookie year to 2020, he was the first running back to ever catch 80-plus passes in 4 straight seasons. Since Peyton left, I believe, and since 2021, he had 47, 57, and last year 75. So we're banking on this guy to put up another 75-plus receptions to give us fantasy value. I think it's fool's gold. And if we look at the metrics, last year, Alvin Kamara had the second lowest yards per catch and yards per carry rate of his career. His age is showing. He's entering his age 29 season. This is a bad offense. And they have a good running back in Kendre Miller waiting behind him to where, can and will Alvin Kamara see the volume that he saw last year? We have to remember, Kendre Miller missed time due to injury, but when he came back, he looked the part. Can Kendre Miller cut into Alvin Kamara's workload? Kamara last year was 10th in opportunity share. Does he see that again with the healthy Kendre Miller? I believe my answer is no there. So, yeah, I will gladly continue to fade Alvin Kamara just like I'm fading Austin Eckler. I think these guys have a lot of wear and tear in their bodies, and give me the younger guys behind them.
Yeah. Since I want to get to Will here, we can answer this Browns question a little bit later, but I do want to talk about Will's other question, who says Olave overpriced like London has been. And we'll get to the Browns question. I wanted to tie this in since we're talking Saints here.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Olave. Yeah, I've always been a huge Chris Olave fan. I think this is the year I'm hopping off the bandwagon. It has nothing to do with talent. Has everything to do with Derek Carr. He gets a ton of targets, but they're just not quality targets. And there's a ceiling there that I'm just not willing to pay. I'm sorry. Yeah, his ceiling is capped, and I'm just not really willing to pay. Borderline close to wide receiver 1 price for a guy that I just don't see finishing as a wide receiver 1. So yeah, I'm probably not paying for him. I do prefer Drake London. Obviously they're not that close in ADP, but I would rather take a chance on London, who I think, I'm not saying he will, but he has a way better chance of finishing as the wide receiver 1 than Olave does, in my opinion.
Steve?
Yeah, it's second round. I agree. I think Pete hit the nail on the head with the lack of upside with Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr, he does have a tendency to fall in love with one guy and just pepper him with targets. So, maybe in the second year, and he did have 138 targets last year, and he still had 1,100 yards, just 5 touchdowns. But maybe that goes a little bit overboard. But you still have Rashid Shaheed, who I think he'll take a little bit of a step up. There's not much else outside of that, though. Jawan Johnson, I think, what did he just break his head? Some kind of foot surgery. So
yeah,
he's going to be out a little while. So yeah, I mean, Olave is so freaking talented. Second round is just a little bit tough because of the point I think Pete makes is it's just Derek Carr is just going to do a lot of dumb shit, which includes dumping off freaking tippy toe, little feathery passes to Alvin Kamara left and right. So,
and how many times is Taysom Hill going to score?
Right, and Taysom Hill, right?
And be the quarterback randomly. Like I don't know.
Interesting thing on Taysom Hill. I was in the hospital last year with my mother, and the nurse was cousins with Taysom Hill, and she said actually his brother was even a better athlete than him. So I was pretty interested. But yeah, Taysom Hill is a big part of that offense too, and he'll continue to be, work his way in there. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think third round's a little bit better for Olave.
I'll make this as simple and quick as possible. They are going back-to-back FFPC ADP right now.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Drake London, better offensive coordinator, better quarterback, top 5 offensive line, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. Give me that supporting cast, the quarterback, the OC. Give me the alpha tied to that unit over the alpha, because Chris Olave is very, very good. Tied to Derek Carr and the New Orleans say we just trashed Alvin Kamara. They're trying to rebuild this football team. So, like, I'd rather, if I'm taking a shot at one of these receivers to pop this year, it's going to be Drake London because I trust his OC and quarterback more. And we'd have to complicate that.
Yeah, maybe the Saints run a little bit more with Kendre with Kubiak's son in there. So we'll see.
Let's at least hit one more of these talking points. We are going to go to here's an interesting one. Titans, the Tennessee Titans, their offense is very polarizing, and a lot of it has to do with Will Levis. Their ADP right now, Levis's ADP is not moving. But the way these receivers are moving right now, it tells me that people are buying in. I don't know if they're buying into Levis. They could be buying into Brian Callahan because of all the magic he's done with Joe Burrow in a very similar offensive cast. You got to remember what Burrow had, and Callahan surrounded him with Boyd, Chase, and T. Higgins. And now you go Callahan surrounding Will Levis with Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd. All 3 of these receivers plus Chig, their ADP is moving up. Everybody's moving up. Ridley is up 10.5 spots from 94 to 84. Hopkins is up 12.5 spots from 104 to 91. Boyd's up 22 spots from 281 to 259. And actually, Chig is up 5.5 spots. I have it in my notes is down, but it's actually up from 158 to 153. And then the running back wise, we have Pollard down 12 spots, Spears up 6 spots. So this entire Tennessee Titans offense, they're all over the place. Most of it's going in the right direction. What do we make of this here? Because I've been a proponent of this offense all offseason. I think it's a low risk, high reward best ball stack all across the board. I want to hear where you guys are.
Steve, you can go first.
Yeah, I always joke around with the Willie Levi's because Levis, obviously Levi's. I would call him Willie Fubu's, But I'll tell you one thing about Will Levis. He's got a rocket arm. He's athletic. He's athletic. He can sling it. He could really put up points. He's going to throw a lot of terrible passes, and he's very, very volatile. I kind of think he's like Jeff George's Jr. a little bit without the athleticism as far as that rocket arm, but like prone to terrible passes and mistakes. Anthony knows. But so with these weapons now with Ridley and Hopkins, it is a little intriguing. I don't mind as like a backdoor, best ball stack getting some of these guys. Chig is solid. Again, new coordinator in Callahan. Maybe that just kind of opens up the offense a little bit more. With Vrabel out of the way as well. He's kind of like more traditional pound the rock. They had Derrick Henry all those years, so they had to use him. He's gone. So maybe they just start slinging the rock all around, and they have the weapons with Boyd, Hopkins, and Ridley. So, yeah, I don't mind The way these guys are moving up the board, and even Treylon Burks. I mean, nobody's even talking about him. You could get him next, basically for free at the end of your
There's
best.
a reason for that.
I'm just saying, if you wanted to stack them on top of, if you missed out maybe and you got Will Levis and you have Ridley and you want to just throw Treylon Burks on there as like a sprinkle, you can.
Wouldn't shock me if Treylon Burks was a wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh by the end of the summer.
You never know. You never know where he could go. But yeah, I mean, Will Levis, we saw him put up that one huge game last year, and then it looked like he was gonna just stay like that. But then he kind of just resorted back to the raw quarterback that he was, and there was a reason he probably fell in the draft. But all the points I stated, I like his arm. He's got the weapon, so I see the reason. I don't mind going after these guys.
Yeah. So Calvin Ridley, right? I mean, let's. He's the guy I want. I don't mind paying his price. I actually think he's decently affordable. Let's remember when he was in Atlanta, in 2020, prior to, he had the issues where in 2021 he had the mental health stuff, right? He stopped playing. Yeah, and then the gambling came out the next season once the season was over, and he missed it. So in 2020, I mean, he had 137 targets. Last year, he had 132. The difference was he didn't haul in a lot of his catches this year. And look, there was some rust there, but his route running, I mean, he looked as good in terms of running routes this past season than he had in all the previous seasons prior. I mean, he was 20th in routes won versus man coverage. He was 16th in the NFL for routes won overall. If you're winning your routes against man, that says a lot. Zone, I don't care too much about. I mean, there's guys that can find the soft spots in zone, but that's a pretty subjective stat, so I don't really care too much about it. But the issue was he was 6th in total drops last year.
Yeah,
right?
That's his issue. He drops and he's not great at contested catches. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the difference was like last season he had 1,000 yards, right? And if he could haul in some of those catches, right? I mean, with a lot of those drops, I mean, he had 8 touchdowns last year, which just seems kind of crazy because if you watch the compilation video of him and Trevor Lawrence, I think he dropped like 3 or 4 touchdowns last year. I expect him to take a step forward. He signed a big contract. Follow the money is what I say. They want to feature this guy. They paid him a lot of money. They like him, and he's still got it when it comes to his route running ability. He's gonna get open. It's just a matter of him hauling his catches in. And I think the market is adjusting to this offense and these pass catchers because I think it's just sharpening up a little bit. I don't think it's an overreaction. I just think it's people are finally realizing that they're mispriced and they're coming up the board a little bit more because, like Anthony said, new offensive coordinator Bryce Callahan. I am in on this offense. I think they're going to be, maybe it's a bold statement, I think they're a top 15 unit this year. I really believe that. And if they're a top 15 unit, I think Calvin Ridley is going to be a big benefactor from that. And I like Will Levis in the quick game. I think he showed some promise. So Calvin Ridley's the guy I want. I don't know about the other guys. I mean, I
defense was trash last year too. Was it good last year? I don't remember.
They made some additions on defense, and they brought in additions on the O-line too. Yeah. So I'm in on Ridley at his price. I think he has a chance to finish as a wide receiver 1 this year. I really do believe that as well.
That's a take and a half.
Yeah,
and I love Ridley. For that to happen, Will Levis needs to take a monstrous step forward. This offense was one of the worst in the NFL last year. There's not much room then to go up. I think top 15 is bold. I think saying Ridley as a wide receiver 1 is bold. I don't think it's impossible. Why I'm in this Titan stack, and I've been on this Titan stack all offseason. They put in major resources at running back to get running backs, to get wide receivers, and to upgrade this offensive line back-to-back years using top 10 picks to rebuild this offensive line. Brian Callahan, this era, like already all the moves that they made shows me that this front office is punting the Vrabel era. We are done with the defense and run to football. We want to throw the hell out of the football. We bring in one of the better young offensive minds who, oh, by the way, unlocked Joe Burrow to now let's try to unlock Will Levis. And coaching the offensive lines, Brian Callahan's father, one of the better all-time offensive line coaches. So I am buying into all these small narratives. And if you want a low risk, really high reward situation on your fantasy teams, and I guess it's more for best ball and the large field tournaments, I am all in. It sounds like we're all in on the Tennessee Titans.
I agree. And one thing I
wouldn't
wanted
say
to
I'm all in, but I don't mind.
Low risk, high reward.
I could see a world where Will Levis throws like 28 touchdowns with like 24 picks and maybe like 4,000 yards. So his
right.
yeah, but that'd be fine for fantasy.
Yeah, for fantasy, I think that's what I'm saying. I think it works.
I think Stallion makes a good point here. They exclusively played him a lot at the X, and Ridley's not an X receiver. And if they can move him around this offense and the formation, I mean, the Jaguars, the one thing I noticed about their offense when I watched it last year, there was no motion, no movement, no creativity whatsoever. So I'm interested to see. We have 2 more questions here. If we want to grab these. What do you say?
I said, of course, it's a Broncos question. We got to get to him.
Shut up. Will Levis. Well, the Broncos question was after that. Will Levis or Watson in Superflex Dynasty? I'm leaning Watson. I lean Watson too. I like Levis, but I still have hope.
Randy Watson. Gotta bring that one up.
What did you say?
So glow.
Sexual chocolate. All right.
over my head. You guys are too old for me, obviously. While Anthony's clearly looking up something to that, I'll just roll with the next one. How you feeling about the Bo Nix, Denver's wide receivers? Will, I really like Marvin Mims. He's a guy that I'm targeting at his cost. I know Steve likes Cortland Sutton. I think Marvin Mims is going to be solid though. Are you bringing something up? I'm here.
I missed it.
I'm bracing because I'm assuming Anthony's pulling something.
I'm trying to.
All right.
But StreamYard's not letting me upload it.
Yeah, I still go with Deshaun as well. I mean, maybe he's just completely falling off the map. That's still a possibility, but I think if anything, we've seen enough from him. I think, it is his second year now with the Browns. They have enough weapons. I still got to prefer freaking Deshaun Watson over Willie Fubu's.
Steve, I brought up the Soul Glove, by the way.
Oh, there it is. Perfect.
Nobody knows unless you're our age. It's coming to America for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, most people have seen that movie.
Just let your soul glow.
Come on now. You hit that note pretty good, Andrew.
I don't know why. I just want to. I was trying to play that while you had that up.
But that Soul Glow is not fucking Girls Gone Wild bongo.
I know. I just wanted to pull it up anyway because of the graphic.
You're playing like island music. Soul Glow is like from the soul. All right, this is when we start getting off the rails. We need to start wrapping up.
All right. Wait, we got one more
get
here.
Randy Watson in there, though. That would be good.
I will get Randy Watson in there.
One more here from Will. He said Sutton's dog, Troy Franklin is still his ADP. Honestly, Will, I love Troy Franklin. I think he's going to be good with Knicks. But I just there's too many heads in that room. I don't think Franklin's going to be enough of a factor in fantasy this year. I prefer Mims, who you can pretty much get in the back of drafts right now. If I'm targeting a guy outside of Sutton. Is that it? We got anything else?
Yeah,
I like Sutton. Will, I'm with you on that.
I like Troy Franklin. That's the Denver Broncos receiver I'm taking my shots on. He has that pre-existing rapport with Bo Nix. I'll take my shots there. He's all right. I don't know. I can't believe he scored 10 touchdowns last year. I couldn't believe it.
9 of them were one-handed catches. So
yeah, he was
throw it up. He'll come down with it.
But we're gonna wrap up from here. Come on. All right. It's like a fucking kid right now.
Oh, I just wanted to pull it up. Close this out.
Monster booty. Yeah. My mind is now. I forgot what I say when I close.
We went the whole list there.
We will be back Monday. We'll be back Wednesday. We will be back Wednesday. This is another great episode of the Face Off Sports Network. We'll be back Wednesday with more great action. Make sure you subscribe, leave your comments, go check out our video archive. We're always posting other content on there. Yesterday I dropped something about George Pickens, but until next time, for Steve, Pete, and myself. This is the Face Off Sports Network. Fuck you. If you want to win, you have to tune in. We'll see you next time, you fucking children.